What's going on, beautiful people? It's your boy here, Wesley from A Connection TV here on YouTube and WatchACTV.com, the two places on the World Wide Web where we actually adopt similar connections despite our differences. And welcome to my review of Big Brother. Some of y'all are really like requesting reviews, and it's weird. I've never y'all going like crazy for the Big Brother reviews, I guess. That's just so weird. But yeah, right now I'm in the middle of a production for WatchACTV.com, which is called Family and Campbell. For those of you that don't know and maybe don't care, I am a one-man crew. So filming these productions take a lot of work out of me. So I appreciate everybody's patience for the reviews, especially for the Mona reviews. Like some of y'all are going like really ape shit over these Mona reviews. And I'm like, they're coming. They're coming. You know, Mona really only came back because of Baddies ATL, and even though that's a like garbage ass show, I decided to do the Jocelyn's Cabinet just because. So the reviews are coming. Baddies ATL I think airs this weekend or something like that. The reviews are coming. Just be patient. I'm a one-man crew trying to build this whole thing, okay? But anyways, yeah, let's talk about it. The biggest thing that came out of this episode 13, is the fact that there's no more teams. But let's start from the very beginning, shall we? So things are getting real interesting, right? I know a lot of you are telling me in the comments that the feeds are like where the meat and potatoes are, but I can't sit through those feeds, I'm sorry. If there's no like constructive narrative that leads me into feeling like there's a reason to watch the feeds, I can't just watch people like randomly talking or like, you know what I'm saying? Like if they had a portion of the feeds that were like nominations discussions or HOH gameplay or something like a category for these feeds to let me know what's being talked about so that I can care, then I would really get into it. But I do not have the time to be sitting there watching feeds to try to figure out what's happening. It's not as interesting as watching an edited, full-blown show that has a narrative that they're trying to tell me, right? That's just me. But anyways, Hannah comes in thinking that she's safe, knowing that she's safe, and I'm assuming because of what happens that beyond the edited stuff, that they clearly be knowing that they be safe. Like there's so many conversations that be leading up to nomination. Like people know when they're going home and when they're, you know, whatever. Although Brent was really shocked, but then he said that he wasn't shocked. Anyways, so Hannah feels that she has the numbers to be safe. Hannah is conversing with Tiffany, and I'm still liking Tiffany. I think Tiffany is dope, and my top 5 I think is completely different. But Tiffany and Hannah are talking, and they're discussing the fact that Sarah Beth is having an issue with Hannah. Sarah Beth and Alyssa both have issues with Hannah. Apparently Hannah is so freaking smart and so like she's cutthroat and she's scary. I'm trying to figure out why these women aren't afraid of Tiffany. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm trying to figure out. How is it that Hannah is so calculated and Tiffany isn't? Like what is happening that we're not seeing that makes people believe that Hannah is this big old badass? I'm really trying to figure this out because this whole entire episode belonged to Tiffany. But before we get into her, we're just coming right up. Sarah Beth is the topic of conversation between Hannah and Tiffany. And Sarah Beth just so happens to walk past when Hannah and Tiffany are talking about Sarah Beth. So she decides to be petty and decides to sit right next to them and say, hey, can I join y'all conversation? Girl, what? I was like, no, this is private. We talking about, you know, but you can't do that in Big Brother. You gotta be like, sure, come on in. You gotta hug bitches even though you don't wanna hug them. That'd be the most difficult thing. That'd be the most difficult thing for me. Sarah Beth and Kyland are an item, but not really, but they are. Like, Kyland makes it seem like he is just being so nice and so calm around her, but he goes in the confessionals like, well, if it comes down to Sarah Beth or the cookout, it's gonna be the cookout. I'm like, all right, brother, power to the people. But, you know, it's still kind of like, dang, like, how close are they and how close are they really not? Because, you know what I'm saying? Like, is Kyland really like playing the game, or does he really care for this girl? Like he says, like the energy and everything is so you know, authentic and all of that, but man, I'm starting to really see some of these players. I don't know about y'all, but like the people that I had in my top 5, I'm starting to really see them play. Like, what? So I'm really like into it. Kylan is really showing himself. Xavier is showing himself, and Tiffany is showing herself. Like, really, really for real. Along in this conversation with Kylan and Sarah, there's massages being mentioned. I wonder, like, do these people really have sex in the show? And then, you know, Sarah Beth says that they've created this Too Sweet alliance. Like, so many people have a 2-person deal already. Like, you know, like, really? Like, wow. Like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just very interesting watching Kylan play his social game. It's very interesting. Tiffany has one of the most amazing, most masterful plans that my mind can remember in Big Brother, because I'm pretty sure there's been quite a few, you know, mastery plans. But Tiffany, I've never heard this plan before. Don't think I've heard this plan before, but this is my first time for me. And I'm like, wow, Tiff, wow. There's 6 in the cookout, which is a great number, by the way. 6 is a very healthy number to have in an alliance. They all have one common goal, and that's to make it to the end and then fight it out at the end. And I'm liking how everybody's so gung-ho over the cookout, although the Jokers haven't really been in this kind of conversation yet because they haven't won anything. But it's very interesting to see how everybody's so gung-ho about the cookout. Hannah, even though she has her Derek X pawn, or duo pawn, Xavier, I forget who Xavier's duo pawn is. I forget who his is. Jeez, who is his? I don't know, I forget. You know, Tiffany with hers, like everybody has their duo pawn or whatever. But it's just very, very interesting that these players are like really coming out to play, and Tiffany's plan is just pure genius, actually. Because if you can put it into perspective that no matter what, if you're put on the block, your alliance team is going to always take you off because y'all have the numbers, is genius. It's a genius position to be put in. And you know, I think I saw a comment where somebody was saying something about reference. Actually, you know what? I ain't even going to get into that right now. I'm not going to get into that right now because it's a clear understanding why the cookout even exists, right? Clear understanding. But what's also interesting is that no matter what, because I think I said this to Ashanti, I was like, I don't care if you black or not, we both black. Like, there has to be more of a common ground outside of the color of our skin for us to work together. Like, if you're a complete jerk, I'm not going to care if you're black to determine whether or not I'm going to want to work with you or not. It's just going to make no sense to me. Like, Azah, I'm not saying she's a jerk, but she has no worth. Like, she just does not have any worth. Neither her... You know what? I'm not even... Let's get into this review. I keep veering off. Derek F has this walk, has this sachet walk, and apparently everybody in the house loves it. It's not the most rhythmic walk that Derek F has. It's more or less like a wobble, a strut, a wobble, a two-step. And I'm like, okay, I mean, you can put a little more pizzazz on that, you know what I'm saying? But the fact that Christian is trying to do it is comical. I can laugh at it. Christian is putting his gay spin on it, and I'm like, okay. Like, you don't even have to do all that to do the walk. Like, you could just walk. Even when Xavier did it, Xavier had like some gay twang to it, and I was like, okay. Like, that's not the walk though. Like, Derek F is just being like, I guess that's, I don't know, I can't call it. But you could have a strut sachet walk and not be so, you know, and then when Xavier threw the no snap at the end, I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, but watching Christian do it was hilarious. It really was. And I'm not trying to say they were being anything. I'm just saying it was hilarious. Tiffany comes into the situation and says hello to Xavier. I want to say it was Sarah Beth and Kylan. That's what I want to say. I know it was Xavier and Kylan, but I can't remember the third person. But apparently they don't hear her or whatever, and Kylan's like right there in front of her, and he puts her hand around her or on her or whatever, and she's like, okay, that was rude, and she goes in the room. She gets in her feels because she feel like it's so disrespectful to be clearly in somebody's face, say hello to them, and they not say anything back. I vibe with it, I get it, but the problem that I have with people like Tiffany is that You need to give people the opportunity to prove to you who they are. Don't just automatically assume that somebody's rude because they don't do something that you think that they should do. Everybody grows up differently, right? And in Big Brother, where the concept of Big Brother is always, or the challenge with Big Brother is always about diversity, that doesn't just go into the color of your skin. It goes into accepting people for their differences and who they are, along with their ethnicity and or race. And that shouldn't even matter, right? That shouldn't even be a part of the conversation. So let's take that out completely with regards to how she feels because nobody heard her or acknowledged her in that moment. The conversation with her and Kylan was very interesting because I would have been Kylan all day long. Kylan was like, yeah, that's just because you felt some sort of way. Doesn't that mean that that was my intention to make you feel that sort of way? I clearly didn't hear you. I'm listening to you now and I'm allowing you to speak. But a conversation goes two ways. You're not just gonna say how you feel and then I'm not gonna respond. Like, what are we talking about here? I was completely here for Kylan. Tiffany was just way too sensitive and emotional for something that had no merit. It had no weight to it because you're just automatically assuming that these people are being rude to you because they didn't respond. But clearly they were in the midst of a conversation. Clearly they were wrapped up in it. And in my mind, I would give them the benefit of the doubt. Clearly they didn't hear me. So when I have this conversation with Kylan and I say, hey, you didn't hear me say hello, and he says no, okay, cool. Cool, no problem. I won't feel no sort of way about it. But even then, why feel some sort of way about it? Like, what are we talking about? You're not in a house with all Tiffany's. And everybody doesn't believe that, like, yes, the major consensus is you respond when someone gives a positive hello to you. But come on now, let's not just, everybody ain't you. Like, relax. Like, I felt she was real extra with that whole relax. And it was just too much for me, right? Azah talks to Tiffany, and this is interesting because I've never really seen them talk. I remember Tiffany saying that she had a problem with Azah because she felt Azah came at her, a little, ugh. And then hear it again. This is Tiffany's problem. This is Tiffany's problem. She felt Azah was a bitch because of the way Azah was whatever. And now she feeling Kylan and Xavier some way because they didn't respond by saying hi to her. Hi. Tiffany is very sensitive in that respect. Expecting people to respond or corroborate in a certain way is a bit too much. I just don't think that you should do that. But anyways, they have a conversation and Azah is like, I don't trust Hannah. Why is Hannah? Well, like, what's the problem with Hannah? And Azah is what I'm saying on that black tip. Even though she's in the cookout, doesn't mean that I trust her all the same. But that shouldn't even be the situation because I feel like if there's a problem, like, y'all should just come together and figure this out because we're all on one accord, right? Whenever we establish an alliance with each other, it should be all on one accord. Like, what are we talking about here? All of these emotions and feels that these women are having is just a bit too much. It's a bit too much for me. It's a bit too much for me. We get to nominations, and I have had a weird vibe with they're walking past each other during nominations, their votes. Like, they haven't been really old Big Brother when they walk past each other. Up until recently, where they decided to do a couple things, it just hasn't given me the vibe that I enjoyed every time when they walk past. But I love how Kylan and Azah gave the Wakanda Forever. I'm here for it, baby. And if you aren't black, you have no idea what that's all about. You have no idea, okay? But I'm here for it. Wakanda Forever chat with Bozeman, baby, all day long. Okay? Whitney goes home. No surprise. She knew she was going home because she said she was going home. And then, Julie passes the verbiage about there not being any more teams anymore. I'm here for it because let the games freaking begin, baby. There's no more safety. If I get HOH and y'all are safe, there's no more of that. There's no more of that. But even though the teams are done, due to me having looking at certain accounts on Twitter, they still are running with the team's mentality because they've already gotten used to each other. For the most part, Derek X ends up being HOH, and I'm here for it. But I'm also here for the the elimination chart that it went down. Of course, Derek F gets the boot first. He dropped first. Of course. Of course. Derek X hasn't won a mental game. He hasn't won a memory game. He hasn't won a physical comp. He hasn't won endurance. He hasn't won anything. Okay? I said it in the beginning. He would have never been picked on my team, and I stand firm by that. Never would he have been picked on any of my teams. He sucks. He sucks. Social game, on point. Everybody loves him. They love doing the little walk. But he's not winning anything. And to be quite frank, I would bring him in top 2 with me so that I could win. It would ensure my win. Period. Bring the worst person to the end with you. Period. So you have a shot. Azah placed good on the elimination. She dropped right before Tiffany, and Tiffany placed good on the elimination too. Tiffany beat quite a few people, and so did Azah. I'm surprised, but I'm still waiting for a win for me to give her anything. Because without a win, I'm not giving her nothing. And even though Tiffany came up with this, both Tiffany and Azah, but even though Tiffany came up with this mastery plan, I'm not giving her anything if she's not winning anything. It is what it is. You can be social all day long, but you need to win Big Brother. You need to win comps to win Big Brother. Period, Pooh. Right now, the front runners are Derek X and Christian. They're the front runners, period, right? Derek X ends up winning, but Xavier was right before Derek X, and I'm here for that. Xavier is a comp. He's a comp beast. He's doing it. I see it. And he's like legitimately not emotional with his gameplay. And so far, so good, right? I mean, he had that crying little moment when he put Brittany on twice. Whatever. But I'm really vibing with X. I'm really vibing with Xavier. He's winning. He has a social game, and he's not emotional. I'm loving it. Derek X, you can't hate on Derek X either because he's a freaking beast. He is a beast. That HOH bout between him and Christian, that was really good. That volleyball bout, not the veto bout. He was really good. He was really good. Wow. So the 3 top front runners, comp wise, social game wise, wins. Xavier, Christian, Derek X, Kylan. Those are your top 4. And my top 5 will be rounded out, that top 4 that I just said, with Tiffany. That's just it. But I need her to start winning something. I do, because like she would edge up. She would like really edge up. If her plan came into fruition and it was making sense and everybody was going along with it, she would edge up. But Tiffany is a little bit too emotional. Too much. She's like another Azah, really, which is why she thought Azah was a BITCH, because she's just like her. But anyways, I don't know about y'all, but I'm here for my top 4. Christian, Kylan, Derek X, and Xavier. I'm here for my top 4 all day long. Derek F is a wash. Azah, Azah better than Derek F. But she a wash, she ain't win nothing. Hannah talking all this jazz. But honestly, I don't think she came up with that whole plan with just by herself. So it was clearly the aces went with Brent to get Brent out, and they threw the competition. But Xavier probably would have won anyway. That's just how I feel about it. It would have been between Xavier and Derek X. But Derek X and Xavier had this like plan that Derek X wouldn't put up Xavier. But who is Derek X gonna put up? The conversation is floating around about Christian, to be truth be told. But I don't know, because if I was Christian, I would have put what you call it on the block. I just would have, because he's just, or I would have used the veto to put. He's just Derek X is a beast. He's a beast. So who is Derek X gonna put up on the block? I don't know. I wouldn't put Christian on the block. It's no more teams. It's no more nothing. I know they in this Royal Flush thing, but it's a dub now. It's a dub. But then again, if you put Christian on the block, like if you put Christian on the block, like he gonna get off, because we gonna win veto. So you gotta backdoor Christian. You gotta backdoor. My top 5, you gotta backdoor them all, except for Tiff, because she probably wouldn't win veto, but you got backdoor them all. You got backdoor Kylan, Xavier, Christian, and Derek X. Those are some heavy hitters. Anyways, let me know what you thought about my review. Leave your comments below. Appreciate you. Deuces!
I
I know you're not about to think about not subscribing to aconnectiontv.com. Copyrighted.